Good Monday morning, Lemon Nation. Nikki, how you doing? How was your Mother's Day? How was your weekend?
It was lovely. It was lovely. A nice, relaxing weekend. And to all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. I hope you were able to get some relaxation time and have some time for you.
Yeah, I reached out. Unfortunately, I couldn't spend time with my mom on Sunday, but I gave her a call. I sent her some flowers and I gave her a call and we chatted for almost an hour last night. It was lovely.
Oh, that's
And I'm sure we have a lot of mothers in the chat. I hope your children sent you flowers, cooked you dinner, spent time with you.
And just to give everyone an update, Don's doing all right, and he will be back soon. He just needed today. So you have us today.
Yeah, for those of you who may have missed some of our shows last week, Don's sister sadly passed away last Monday. So he's just been dealing with that, spending time with his mom, with the rest of his family, and he will be back soon. Maybe as soon as 5 p.m. this evening for the live at 5, but likely tomorrow morning. We'll see. We'll keep you updated when we have more. But let us know in the meantime. Yes. You stuck with us. Let us know where you're streaming from. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and consider becoming a member if you feel like it. Nikki, we have some big breaking news. Some tariff news. The China tariffs that were on and then off and then on and then off and then up and then down and then up even further. We've got some major developments there. Let's get a word from our friends over at ABC News to break it all down.
President's trade war and news breaking overnight that China and the U.S. have reached a short-term agreement. Our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, is tracking the latest on this trade deal. Good morning, Rachel.
Michael, good morning to you. And this is a breakthrough in talks between the world's two largest economies, but it's also a dramatic retreat from President Trump's 145% tariffs that he imposed on Chinese imports. After all of the tough talk and hard lines, both sides agreeing to dramatically roll back their tariffs, at least for now. This morning, the Trump administration emerging from a marathon weekend of negotiations, announcing the U.S. has reached a trade deal with China to significantly lower most tariffs for 90 days.
We have reached an agreement on a 90-day pause and substantially moved down the tariff levels.
The U.S. agreed to roll back its steep 145% tariff on Chinese imports to 30%, and China agreeing to lower its tax on American goods from 125% to 10%. For weeks, the president has been defiant about keeping his tariffs in place, even as markets tumbled and retailers warned their shelves could go empty.
I know what the hell I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and you know what I'm doing, too.
China took a hard line, too, insisting no matter how long the trade war lasts, will never yield. But just as both sides touched down in Geneva, Switzerland for those high-stakes talks, the president with a change in tone, suggesting he would be willing to drop his tariffs even lower to 80%. The deal the U.S. reached is much lower than that.
We concluded that we have shared interest. The consensus from both delegations this weekend is neither side wants a decoupling.
On Wall Street, stock futures surging as the U.S. and China return back to the negotiating table in hopes of reaching a long-term deal. So investors are rejoicing this morning, but the full economic impact of this on and off again trade war still remains very unclear at this point. That question will be answered likely in 90 days as these two sides continue their negotiations, Michael.
Yes.
The art of the deal, Nikki. The art of the deal.
Art of the deal. Oh, yeah. He knows
Andy,
exactly what he's doing. He's a very stable genius.
He's killing it. Andy, can we throw up that one full screen just so we can show folks? Yeah, let's take a look at the Chinese tariffs over the course of the last few months. So we had them at 10% way back on February 1st. Then, Nikki, remind me, when was Liberation Day? Was that April 3rd, right? I think April 3rd was Liberation Day. So they were at 10%, then at 20%, then they jumped to 54% or I suppose maybe Liberation Day was April 2nd, according to the chart. Then up to 104%, then 145%, now down to 30, which again, as someone in the chat mentioned a second ago, is still a 30% tax on the American consumer. And then my heart goes out to all of the small business owners who, for the past couple of months, have seen, their livelihoods destroyed because they've had no idea. They ordered a huge amount of merchandise from China. It came over on containment ships. I don't even know. I'm not a trade expert. I don't know what happens to those products. If they're still sitting at ports right now, do they pay a 30% tariff? Do they pay a 145% tariff? Because that's what the tariff was when the goods arrived. It's, yes, to quote Holly Booker, it's just a mess. It's all a mess.
Yeah, and with the product in transit, people can't return it. People can't decide they don't want it. You're just, I think we had someone, we watched something with a business owner who said he'd be better off if you lit it all on fire.
Yeah. That's the only way that his business would survive.
I mean, I see a lot of people asking, mentioning something like market manipulation. And I know it does certainly smell of that. We can see it. Then there's the question, is Trump that intelligent?
Yeah, I mean, it could just be, he's mused about this a number of times, that he just really likes the word tariff. He thinks it's a beautiful word. And apparently just because of that beautiful word, we are pursuing an economic policy regime that is tanking an entire sector of the American economy. But who knows? I mean, 30% is not, as we were talking about with maybe Tara last week, it's not, oh no, it was with Reese. 30% is not as high as, obviously, 80 or 145, which are functionally embargoes on all Chinese goods.
Right.
But 30% increase on all products from China is still going to be hugely impactful on the American consumer.
Still high. Like I said this last week, this is his signature move. He basically destroys everything, puts these insane policies in place. Everyone gets upset. He removes most of the policy, puts us in a position where we're still worse off than we were to begin with, and then claims it as a win.
Yeah.
Like, I did it. I fixed it.
And MAGA thinks it's all the art of the deal. The art of the deal. Andy, can you throw up our next full screen? There was a meme on Twitter that caught my eye that I thought just perfectly summed up the situation. For those of you who are listening on Spotify, Trump adds tariffs. MAGA says this will create jobs. Trump removes tariffs. MAGA says this is the art of the deal. Trump says I'm adding more tariffs again. MAGA, this will create jobs. Trump, I'm doing away with all the tariffs. MAGA, art of the deal. It's this endless cycle where he can do absolutely no wrong. Even when he just falls on his face and it's clear as day that he screwed up and he's retreating, MAGA's like, it's just genius. It's a galaxy-brained move. Masterful gambit, sir.
I mean, this is something I think we're planning on getting to in a little bit. But yeah, we were discussing this morning, how it seems like even some policies that Trump is suggesting that are more akin to something from a socialist politician, they seem to support it because anything that comes out of his mouth is, it's the way. That's the best thing. He knows what he's doing. I feel like they don't really have any deeply held opinions on policy.
No.
Other than maybe racism.
I saw there was another post on social media from David French, who's a great columnist for the New York Times. And what he was saying over the weekend is that it's clear that the single thread that connects all of MAGA is not, as you were just saying, Nikki, a policy agreement, a policy regime. It's just a shared love of transgression, whether it be transgressing political norms, transgressing social norms. They just like Trump breaking things. They love to see destruction. They love to see the libs being triggered. That is the one uniting force in all of MAGA.
And that's impossible to combat. That's the problem, because something like that, you can't come at them with facts. You can't come at them with precedent. You can't come at them with studies or scientific discoveries to them. And that it's because with that comes anti-intellectualism. So anything that is already status quo or anything that is precedent within government is wrong. That's bad. We've been doing it that way. We shouldn't do it that way, regardless of why we've been doing it that way. Let's just break it and let's change it. And that can be incredibly problematic when we've worked for so long to get these agencies to where they are.
And Nikki, you and I have talked about this on previous editorial calls, but this is precisely why the allure of MAGA is so great. Because in a time, and forgive me, Lemon Nation, I'm going to drop his name again, Derek Thompson has written about this extensively. Robert Putnam has written about this extensively. I was just reading a book over the weekend by Adam Gopnik, who's touched on similar themes. In a time where we're all suffering from loneliness, more disconnected than ever, when you have a phenomenon where you just throw on the red hat and suddenly you have an entire community that loves you and affirms you and will support you, I call it the largest book club of illiterates ever amassed. It's so compelling and intoxicating to be able to join that. And the left liberals have anything to rival it because we actually have policy disagreements. We have things we want to do. We want to build things we want to create. And MAGA doesn't. MAGA just wants to destroy. And it's so much easier to build community around destruction than around building. Because destruction's easy. There's one way to destroy. Just destroy shit. Whereas building...
We don't have to have moral qualms about it. We don't have to go back and forth about how to do less harm. No, just break.
Yeah.
It's easier. And I think I see a lot of people mentioning it. I know Don's talked about this before too. It's a cult. It operates like a cult. That's essentially that desire to belong and to be a part of a group. That's the appeal with a lot of cults.
Yeah. No, so I referenced him a second ago, but Adam Gopnik, his theory, he wrote a beautiful book. It's called 1,000 Single Sanities, and it was in the aftermath of the 2016 election. Him trying to explain the current political moment to, at the time, his young daughter. And his theory is that the foundation of liberalism, not the Democratic Party, but just the global concept of liberalism as a political philosophy, the core theme is skepticism. What do I mean by that? If you are a liberal, if you're on the left, you're skeptical of how you live your own life. You're not sure if the way that you're going through life is the right way to do things. You're not sure if your neighbor is living life the right way. You're not sure if your parents lived life the right way. And it's that skepticism that then breeds sympathy and empathy, right? Because if nothing is ever too certain, you allow yourself to build bonds and see the humanity in other humans. Whereas if you go through life with certainty, whether it be certainty through religion, whether it be certainty through a MAGA might makes right mentality, it's far easier to view other people as evil or wrong or to write them off entirely. And in that way, yes, MAGA is very cult-like. I think you have conservative movements around the world that can be classified as more cult-like than most liberal movements, because again, liberal movements are characterized by that skepticism, by that willingness to at least ponder the idea that I might be wrong, we might be wrong.
I would say that skepticism is present on both sides, but I think the difference is liberals are it's more reflected on themselves. And for conservatives, it's of everybody else. Everybody that's not a part of the group. Especially any kind of powerful institution. Anything that has been in place for a long time.
Well, Nikki, we could discuss political philosophy until the cows come home, but we have some more breaking news to cover. Andy, could we please play the report on Trump's new toy that he's about to get, reportedly?
Controversy now over President Trump preparing to accept a luxury jumbo jet from the government of Qatar. The plan is for it to serve as Air Force One, then for Trump's personal use. It's raising serious legal and national security questions. Chief Washington correspondent John Carl broke the story. He joins us now. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. This is a move that is already raising serious ethical, legal, and national security questions. But the Trump administration is poised to accept that luxury jumbo jet, which has a value estimated at $400 million, as a gift from the government of Qatar. Sources familiar with the proposal say that the aircraft would be used by President Trump as a new Air Force One and then transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation shortly before he leaves office. It would likely be the most valuable gift ever given to the U.S. government from a foreign power. Multiple sources familiar with the proposal say this is the airplane, a 13-year-old Boeing 747-8, known as a Flying Palace. It was toured by Trump himself back in February. The aircraft is larger and significantly more luxurious than the current Air Force One, an older version of the 747 that has been in operation since 1990. The Qatari plane has 2 fully furnished floors, complete with plush carpet, leather couches, and 2 bedrooms. The plane's current value is estimated at $400 million, but it will need millions more worth of modifications to meet the Air Force requirements to operate as the presidential aircraft.
It raises many, many eyebrows to have this sort of deal at all, to be accepting Air Force One from a foreign government.
Under the terms of the proposed gift, sources tell ABC, the plane would be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation no later than January 1st, 2029. That's shortly before Trump leaves office. The Constitution prohibits anyone holding federal office from accepting a personal gift from a foreign head of state. But sources say Attorney General Pam Bondi has concluded that this gift is, quote, legally permissible because the plane is not being given to an individual, but rather to the U.S. Air Force and then to Donald Trump's foundation. Democrats are calling the proposed gift illegal and are demanding an investigation. I don't know who needs to hear this, Senator Bernie Sanders posted on X, but no, Donald Trump cannot accept a $400 million flying palace from the royal family of Qatar. Not only is this farcically corrupt, it is blatantly unconstitutional. In response to the outcry, Trump confirmed he plans to accept the airplane, calling it, quote, a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One, temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction. In addition to the obvious ethical concerns, there are significant national security concerns about this, about using a plane given by a foreign government as Air Force One. Qatar is considered an American ally, but it is also an ally of Iran and China and even Hamas. The massive plane would need to be thoroughly vetted for listening devices and tracking devices that can be incredibly small and hidden just about anywhere on that massive aircraft. George?
So, John, among all the questions you raise, above everything else, this is not going to be free of charge. It's going to cost millions, if not tens of millions of dollars to retrofit it for it to serve as Air Force One. And, of course, American taxpayers are going to pay that.
Yeah, absolutely, George. It will have to be retrofitted to serve the Air Force requirements. And, George, also in this agreement, the transfer costs of going to the library will be paid for by the United States government.
Which means the taxpayers.
Yes, the taxpayers, yes.
Thanks, Andy.
John Carl, thanks very much.
So, Nikki, as you and I were talking about this morning, I think I said to you, how is the headline not Trump plans to steal Air Force One?
I know the whole argument that it's not illegal, guys, because it's not going to a person. But yes, it is. He's taking it with him afterwards. It's absurd. And this is like the national security threat angle is something that you would think would very much infuriate lots of MAGA. But no, I mean, the whole point of this, the whole point of government officials not being able to accept gifts from foreign entities is national security. It can, beyond just having the image of impropriety, can make people feel like they owe something.
Yeah, and just, I know it goes without saying, but the hypocrisy here is so crazy. Imagine if Kamala Harris was elected and then accepted a $400 million palace in the sky from the Qataris. MAGA would be calling it Hamas Force One. They would be saying it's the most anti-Semitic, most evil action that a United States president has ever done. And yet, because it's Trump, because it's the orange man, of course, this is A-okay. This is fine. This is the art of the deal once again.
But Kamala and any of our past leaders, I think I can confidently say, would not have done this because this is illegal.
So clearly illegal.
I don't care how Pam Bondi wants to twist this around. It is illegal. You can't do this, especially the fact that he's keeping it.
That's the other thing is, it's so brazen that do they expect? We talk about this a lot, Nikki. This is a long-term debate that you, Don, and I have on a pretty regular basis. Whether or not Trump will seek a third term, whether or not we're already living in a dictatorship. Don, as the Lemonheads know, believe that we're far close to a true and proper constitutional crisis, a dictatorship than I do. But I will always submit that if they were going to, take over the country, if he was going to seek a third term, this is sort of how they would behave in such just like brazenly illegal, unlawful ways, because they're not concerned with Democrats ever holding power again.
Exactly. I personally think we are in a constitutional crisis. And I know that you are far more optimistic than Don or I tend to be, which is good. We need that optimism sometimes. But I think that what we're seeing here is something that we've been seeing a lot, which is pushing the line. It's testing the waters. It's seeing, hey, if I do this illegal thing, let's see how mad they get and if I can get away with it. And they're going to keep going further and further and further. And I don't know. What I fear is that MAGA, and now, let's be honest, all the Republicans in Congress, with the exception of maybe a couple, they don't have a line. There is no line that shall not be crossed. It doesn't matter. They'll just keep going. There doesn't seem to be a point where they stop and say, oh, wait, but that's not okay. You shouldn't do that because that's unconstitutional. It's just, and even if yesterday they were claiming that, no, but that's my line. I wouldn't be okay if he did that. Once he does it, it doesn't matter. And that's what we're seeing. Yeah. And it's terrifying. And I know that something like this, it's like we laugh at it. Oh, look at him stealing a plane from the United States. But it's just another push to see how far they can go with unconstitutional and illegal acts.
In the first term, Adam Serwer, who's a great writer for The Atlantic, penned a piece that has sort of become famous. It was titled "The Cruelty is the Point," just describing Trump's actions, particularly around immigration, but on a host of issues. It seemed like the cruelty is the point. And I still think that's definitely the case, of course, with Kilmer Abrego Garcia, with how they're carrying out so many of these illegal deportations, and again, with a host of other policies. But if there's a theme of this second term, in addition to the cruelty being the point, I think it's the corruption is the point. Every single action so many of the actions coming out of this administration are so brazenly unlawful, and they don't care. Because again, circling back to the conversation we had a few minutes ago, it's transgression that unites MAGA. They love this. Yeah. Nikki, do we have time to play the from Scott Galloway, or would you like to pay some bills?
I'm not sure if I can pay the bills, but
gotcha. Okay, well then let's listen to our friend. Oh, go ahead.
Making comments about Laura Loomer being against this, and yes, that is something we also discussed. I think we even have her tweet.
Yeah, Andy, do we have that full screen? Nikki, you want to read it? You mentioned it.
Sure. Laura Loomer, for those of you that are listening, tweeted out, "I love President Trump. I would take a bullet for him. But I have to call a spade a spade. We cannot accept a $400 million gift from jihadists in suits. The Qataris fund the same Iranian proxies in Hamas and Hezbollah who have murdered U.S. service members, the same proxies that have worked with the Mexican cartels to get jihadists across our border. This is really going to be such a stain on the admin if it is true. And I say that as someone who would take a bullet for Trump. I'm so disappointed. Please, no one clip that out and have me say that anywhere, because
when you lose Laura Loomer, this is a point I make a lot. I think I made it at least once last week. But if you think back to the first administration, I didn't care for a lot of the folks who were working in the White House. I didn't think they were particularly good people. But if you look at Gary Cohn, if you look at Dina Powell, if you look at Jared Kushner, if you look at Ivanka Trump, an argument could be made that there were some adults in the room. Like, I think Steve Mnuchin was a good steward for the economy for at least the first 3 years of the first term. This second time around, to the extent there even are adults in the room, it's Laura Loomer, like this deranged racist conspiracy theorist. And
maybe for this particular issue, but I would never call that woman an adult.
Fair enough. Andy, let's play our friend Scott Galloway commenting not specifically on the Qatari plane, although that surely fits in, but more about my point earlier that the corruption is the point.
100 days of the Trump administration will go down in history as the greatest grift in the history of our economy in terms of the amount of money stolen and the size of it over the shortest period. Just some data here. Trump-affiliated entities have made at least $300 million in trading fees. The Trump family's net worth has increased by $3 billion or $1 billion a month since he took office. Just some timeline. The Trump coin launched on a Friday night under cover of dark with all the news about the inauguration. By 3 a.m. on Sunday, it was valued at more than $70 billion. And there were a small number of investors who made large investments on a Friday. Maybe they got a tip or something. They made tens, if not hundreds of millions. And then over the course of the next couple weeks, about 800,000 smaller investors lost billions. This market manipulation, this what would technically be called insider trading by the SEC, we'll never know because on April 8th, Trump's deputy attorney general ordered the DOJ's crypto fraud investigation arm to disband. Trump posted on Truth Social, "This is a great time to buy Donald Trump media at 9:37 a.m. Between 1 and 1:10 p.m., there was a huge increase in bullish zero-day S&P 500 call options. And then just 8 minutes later, Trump announced a 90-day pause on all of his tariffs, and the market soared almost 10%, one of the biggest one-day gains in history. So someone knew what was going on.
Of course they do. He calls them.
That's called insider trading. The market gained $4 trillion while Trump media closed up 23%, increased his net worth by $415 million. On April 23rd, Trump announced that the top holders of the Trump coin would win an exclusive dinner with him, and the coin surged over 60%. Just 58 wallets made more than $10 million apiece, totaling approximately $1.1 billion in gains. Meanwhile, 800,000 wallets of mostly smaller holders have lost money on their Trump coin. And it gets worse. Now the kids went on it. World Liberty Financial, a crypto firm run by Trump's sons, Eric and Don Jr., and they are entitled to 75% of its revenue. And now it's being leveraged to facilitate pardons for criminals. Justin's son, a crypto billionaire, was under SEC investigation for securities fraud after investing $75 million in World Liberty Financial. Guess what, Kara? The SEC dismissed his case. This is what fucking infuriates me. I'm a realpolitik guy. I don't mind a little bit of corruption as long as it's good for all Americans. I don't mind a little bit of strong arming. But here's the problem, or the tragedy. If Trump brought half the competence, expertise, and elegance to governance as he does to grifting, the country would be in a much better place. We have a mob family running the country. That's the bad news. The worst thing is that Michael Corleone is managing the crime and Fredo is managing the government. You are so good at stealing. Can you bring some of that elegance, that expertise to the government?
So well put by Scott Galloway. What gets my goat, Nikki, what really, really frustrates me and makes me angry is as he just stated, the Trump coin, the crypto scheme is arguably the single greatest corruption scandal in presidential history. Like, we've never seen something even remotely on par with this in terms of scale. You're muted, Nikki.
Sorry, I'm pulling it on. I want to make you all feel more at home.
But because it's crypto and because so many Americans, this is a new technology, a new thing for them, they can't wrap their heads around how crazy and how corrupt this is. Like,
no,
to them, like, crypto is like, what is crypto? I don't get it.
I think they're using the public's general confusion around how all of this works to their advantage. I mean, because if we saw this with literally any other leader ever,
yeah,
this would have been unacceptable.
Amassing their wealth,
worthy, jail worthy, but no.
Increasing their wealth by like north of $1 billion every single month. It's just
that alone,
it's insane.
Should lead to MAGA questioning this. So many of them have cited, I mean, I've heard so many people citing he's not even taking a salary. See, he's doing this for the United States. It's the mere fact that he is pulling in so much money every month through this presidency, and so are all of his friends. I can't understand how that doesn't give a lot of these voters pause.
And I think folks also need to think about the long-term consequences of this, because I sometimes feel myself reading a headline like, or listening to a soundbite like from Scott Galloway there. Oh, Trump increases his wealth by a couple $1 billion over the last few months. And I think, I get angry because I'm like, oh, Mar-a-Lago gets another gold toilet or something. But it's more than that, because if you think 3 years down the road. Let's say Trump doesn't seek a third term. Let's say he bows out and there's another proper election. He's made himself and he's made his children American oligarchs.
Yeah.
And now for the rest of history, they will be able to funnel tens, if not hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars into the American political system.
Yep.
To, primary MAGAs or Republicans who are not loyal enough to MAGA. They will operate in a way or in a fashion very akin to how Elon Musk has been flexing his wallet and pouring money into races to make sure that the Republican Party stays loyal to him. That's what's scary to me, too. Like, sure, fine, Trump, go buy some more gold toilets. I don't really give a crap about that. No pun intended. But the way that they'll be able to influence elections with all of this money is really disturbing to me.
Oh, 100%. It's inevitable. And I've had this conversation with a lot of friends, or we've had this debate as to, is Trump the problem? Like, if Trump steps down, are we safe? I don't think so. I think it's gotten so much bigger than that. And I think now he's been funneling this money to all of his supporters to the point where even if Trump wasn't there, I think we'd still be facing this.
Yeah. Oh, well, Nikki, as we're talking about money and corruption and fraud and market manipulation, I think we do need to touch on the other really big story of the morning. Folks in the chat, you all might remember that I believe either on Saturday night or early on Sunday, Trump teased that he, in the coming hours, in the coming days, was going to post the most consequential social media post of all political history. And folks were very disturbed, had no idea what this could mean. Was with regard to foreign policy? Was it with regard to, American elections? Was he going to declare himself dictator? Well, we got our answer this morning. We now know what the most consequential social media post in all of history is. Andy, do you mind throwing it up? That's going to be tough to read. Can we zoom in? Okay, I got this. Thank you, Andy. So he has said, for many years, the world has wondered why prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals in the United States of America, I'm not misreading that, United States of America, fantastic, were so much higher in price than they were in any other nation, sometimes being 5 to 10 times more expensive than the same drug manufactured in the exact same laboratory or plant by the same company. It was always difficult to explain and very embarrassing because, in fact, there was no correct or rightful answer. Jesus. The pharmaceutical/drug companies would say for years that it was research and development costs, and that all of these costs were and would be, for no reason whatsoever, borne by the quote-unquote suckers of America alone. Campaign contributions can do wonders, but not with me and not with the Republican Party. We are going to do the right thing, something that the Democrats have fought for many years. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that tomorrow morning in the White House at 9 a.m., I will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. Prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 30 to 80%. They will rise throughout the world in order to equalize and, for the first time in many years, bring fairness to America. I will be instituting a most favored nations policy whereby the United States will pay the same price as the nation that pays the lowest price anywhere in the world. Our country will finally be treated fairly, and our citizens' healthcare costs will be reduced by numbers never even thought of before. New numbers, Nikki. We're inventing new numbers. Additionally, on top of everything else, the United States will save trillions of dollars. Thank you for your attention for this matter. Make America great again. Initial reactions, Nikki.
I mean, lowering pharmaceutical drug prices, insisting that companies have to lower their prices. This sounds a little socialist to me. Just saying.
Like Bernie Sanders doesn't even talk this way. This is literally when they were, mocking Harris over the course of the election, calling her Commie Kamala. This is beyond even anything that she proposed. This is why we have this thumbnail today, guys. Like, this is true and proper communist shit. Price gouging, price controls. It's nuts. And it also goes without saying that it's, one, yes, illegal, but two, it's never going to happen. This will never work. It's absolutely nuts. Nikki, any other thoughts?
I think what I'm taking from this more is the fact that, like, the deeply held beliefs from the left and the right, the stark differences in policy positions, it doesn't exist anymore. The lines are getting so blurred. It's hard to say what is. I mean, when I grew up, my Republican family members would always be like, nope, Republicans are for small government and less interference into your life and spending less money. And it just, there isn't really a line anymore. It feels like for MAGA, it is whatever dear leader says. Dear leader says, we're doing this now. There aren't really defined policy positions anymore, except I will say when it comes to something like immigration.
Yes.
Things that are based on bigotry, that I'm still seeing very strongly defined. But a lot of the things that are more around public funding, that seems to be changing.
No, that's a great point, Nikki. I was listening to a conversation over the weekend between Sarah Longwell, our friend over at The Bulwark, and Dave Weigel, a very talented, smart reporter for Semaphore. And they had listened to a number of focus groups, specifically voters who had voted for Trump in 2020 and then decided to vote for Harris, in 2024. Or no, excuse me, I have that backwards. Voted for Biden and then voted for Trump. And all of them were very frustrated with what Trump was doing, specifically with the tariffs, with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and immigration more broadly. But back to Sarah and Dave. Dave Weigel brought up a good point, which is in this moment where Trump is incredibly unpopular, Democrats are also unpopular. Like, their polling is not much better than Trump's is. In fact, congressional Democrats, it's even worse. And his theory as to why Democrats can't seem to find their footing right now, to your point, is that the Republican Party has actually moved to the left on a host of issues. They're not really talking about attacking Social Security and Medicare anymore, although they will, I think, in this reconciliation bill that they're currently trying to put together. As you just saw in that Trump leak, he is attempting, it's unworkable and unlawful, but he wants to go after prescription drug costs, which folks are pointing out in the chat Joe Biden did during his presidency, granted in a fashion that was legal, that was not just an executive order announced on a whim. I think that's a good point. I think the Democratic Party is grappling with how they deal with the Republican Party that is deranged and acting in ways that are blatantly unconstitutional, but in certain policy ways has moved to the left and is now taking a policy ground where they long had an advantage or superiority. And that to me is quite interesting.
I also saw someone in the comments said something that is, I can't remember, Michelle, I think it was, pretty interesting, that the differentiation comes with how they follow laws. One side does,
I like that.
does not. And that goes back to what we were discussing earlier, that it's all about breaking things, doing things the wrong way, just for the sake of doing things that are illegal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Andy, can you throw up the one meme we have about price control and MAGA? Yep. I think this sums it up so well. They hated price control until Trump says price control is good, and now they love price control. And it will save America, according to the MAGA influencers as I'm seeing online. Charlie Kirk, DC Drano, all of these personalities. Oh, wait, this one, Andy. Also, the DC Drano. All of these different folks who, throughout the campaign, called Vice President Harris Commie Kamala, said that she was going to install socialism in America. This is DC Drano back during the election. Price controls lead to empty shelves lead to food lines lead to a police state leads to communism. And you can take my word for it, or you can go check out DC Drano's Twitter feed this morning, because he is very, very happy. Suddenly a huge fan of price controls overnight. Nikki, there's another piece of breaking news that we should cover. The first flights are coming into the U.S. from South Africa. I'm reading here for those of you listening on Spotify. The United States has started to bring white South African, quote-unquote, refugees this week. President Trump's administration says refugees have been victims of, quote-unquote, racial discrimination. Nikki, finally, the long oppressed white farmers of South Africa will get justice. Thank goodness, right?
Oh my God. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The racism is very much the point with a lot of this. But they're doing this. It's what you wrote about before, vice signaling. That's what this is. Doing something so horrifically offensive to state that it's the white farmers in South Africa that are the ones that are being discriminated against. And we need to bring them here while also deporting everyone else in very inhumane manners. But this is what we need to focus on. This is them signaling to everyone that the racism is the point.
I saw someone tweet over the weekend that isn't it crazy that you go so far to the right, you go so far to the racist end of the spectrum that you end up doing something woke by decolonizing South Africa? I kid, of course. This is despicable. It's evil. It's gross. And I think we can't lose sight of the fact that at a time when we have, I'll say his name again, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, when we have Andre Romero Hernandez, all of these folks sitting in El Salvadoran gulags who were not afforded due process, who in many cases were swept off the street, taken from their houses in the middle of the night, their families broken apart, and now they are perhaps doomed to rot in a forced labor camp for the rest of their lives. Meanwhile, Trump is extending a hand to white South Africans. It is appalling. There's just no other word for it. It's despicable. I'll say it again. The cruelty is the point.
Well, this juxtaposed with how they're handling deportations of non-white immigrants. It's just them trying to say, we're not against immigration if you're white.
Yeah. Nikki, how about we talk about a story that we missed on Friday because it was happening while we were on the air. Andy, if you don't mind, could we play the CBS video breakdown of ICE agents, plainclothes officers? I think we should stop saying plainclothes officers. We should start using the term secret police because that's really how they operate.
That's essentially how they operate.
Let's play the news report about the Newark mayor being detained on Friday.
Less than 24 hours after a chaotic arrest, Newark Mayor Ras Baraka is back in the public eye defending his actions. Tonight, the Department of Homeland Security released body cam footage of the moments federal officers arrested the mayor for allegedly breaking into Delaney Hall. The agency blurred the faces on the video. Mayor Baraka claims the new facility there is operating illegally. Addie Guajardo spoke with the mayor and has the latest.
Mayor Ras Baraka is now facing a trespassing charge for allegedly entering an ICE detention property illegally. He described his arrest as humiliating, stressful, and even depressing. Just hours after the mayor took our questions, hundreds of his supporters came out here to Foley Square to show their support for Mayor Baraka and to fight for due process.
Get off of me! Get off of me! Put your hands on me!
This moment captured on camera shows the instant federal agents arrested Newark, New Jersey Mayor Ras Baraka outside of Delaney Hall, a new ICE facility.
They made a decision to arrest me. They made a decision to violate me. They made a decision to humiliate me, to put me in cuffs, and told the people to take me to the ground. Thank God the Office of Homeland Security didn't do that.
Baraka shared his story this morning outside of an event in Newark. He
was held for hours Friday night by the Department of Homeland Security before being released and charged with trespassing. According to court documents, the mayor unlawfully entered and remained on Delaney Hall property. In a press release, the Department of Homeland Security accused members of Congress of storming the gate and breaking into the facility illegally. Tricia McLaughlin, the Assistant Secretary of Public Affairs for DHS, told CNN they've obtained video of Congress members body slamming ICE officials.
It's disgusting.
She says an investigation is underway and more arrests could be on the horizon.
Nobody from ICE was slammed on the ground. We didn't storm the place. So all of it is a lie.
The mayor pushed back, saying he was invited onto the ICE property and stayed for over an hour.
Somebody allowed me to go in there. I didn't climb a fence. I didn't kick the door down.
He claims no one said a word to him while on property. But the interim U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey posted on X that the mayor ignored multiple warnings to remove himself.
When immigrants are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that!
Dozens attended a rally outside of Foley Square.
What happened yesterday to Mayor Baraka is wrong, it's distressing, and it is cause for action.
To show their support for Mayor Baraka.
If they can do that to elected officials, none of us is safe.
The mayor's opponents in New Jersey's governor's race also came to his defense.
The good news is he's out, right? Again, but the bad news is there's plenty others who aren't. And I think the point is we all have to stand here in solidarity and keep fighting back.
Baraka says he will continue his fight against the company running the ICE facility.
Mayor, you've called this facility illegal and dangerous. Can you explain why?
Because we haven't inspected it properly. We haven't been in it. So we have to say that it's dangerous.
DHS claims the facility's permits are valid and have been cleared.
The mayor says he was treated with dignity and respect while in custody and fully cooperated with authorities. Baraka is also running for governor of New Jersey. In Lower Manhattan, Addie Guajardo, CBS News, New York.
So, Nikki, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this story is really interesting to me because we know for a fact that these few members of Congress and the mayor of Newark were allowed into Delaney Hall to inspect the facility. They toured said facility for about an hour, and then only upon exiting was there then this ruckus that led to the mayor's arrest. Which leads me to believe, and we have no reporting on this. I'm just asking questions. It seems odd to me that they would have a completely peaceful, uneventful tour of the facility, would be inside for over an hour, chatting with the agents on the ground there, and then only upon leaving, something happens, and members of Congress are manhandled. The mayor of Newark is arrested. It almost seems like to me that someone made a call to make this spectacle happen. I don't know, but it's very strange. What do you make of all this?
I mean, I agree with you. There's no reporting on that, but it does scream of a spectacle, of posturing, of doing this to make a point. Like we're going to arrest someone that's in a position of power. So the rest of you better watch out. It makes people feel like if they can go that far with someone that actually has authority, where do the rest of us stand?
I'm trying to think if there's any parallel, if there has been any similar case when a Democrat was president and if a Republican official was arrested. Like, I can't think of anything like this ever happening before. Like when Joe Biden was president, the DOJ investigated Bob Menendez for having gold bars in his house from the Egyptians, but they were. I cannot think of ICE agents, of plainclothes officers, of secret police, hassling members of Congress and then ultimately arresting and detaining a sitting Democratic mayor. It's crazy. Andy, I think we have some video of Rev Al Sharpton chatting with the mayor over the weekend, correct?
We sure do.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's play it.
Mayor Ras Baraka, a Democrat currently running for governor of New Jersey. Mayor, we can't stress how much we appreciate you joining us tonight. You and I go way back, been through many causes together, including recently dealing with DEI and other issues. But please tell us what happened yesterday. Why were you there at Delaney Hall in Newark, which has become a major site for Trump's migrant purge? How were you treated at the separate ICE facility where you were held for several hours? And how will you respond as the Trump administration issues more threats against officials, elected officials, who impede its deportations?
First, thank you, Reverend Al. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to speak. Yeah, I was invited there for a press conference that the Congresspeople was having. It's important to note that I was there that morning, and I was there at least 3 or 4 mornings before that with our fire inspector, denied entry. We served them a citation because we're in court. I left, came back for this press conference, was there for at least an hour and a half before some folks from HSI came. Actually, the special agent in charge never saw the special agent in charge make an arrest. It would be like our police director going downtown arresting somebody for jaywalking or trespassing. But he comes out and, confronts me out of all people, comes right to me. That's why I think it's targeted. Tells me to get out. I several times I leave the gate. Finally waits till I'm outside of the gate. And, the agents came out, ICE agents came outside where I was and tried to arrest me there. And they did. They arrested me. The scene got crazy. So I kind of acquiesced and allowed them to arrest me and take me.
They arrested you outside of the gate?
Yes, outside of the gate. I was already outside when they arrested me.
Wow. Now, take a listen to Trump's border czar, Tom Homan's take on what's driving you and other officials protesting their migrant purge.
Elected politicians know that. This isn't about due process. This isn't about constitutional rights. This is about politics. They simply don't want these people removed from this country. They don't want immigration enforcement in this country. And that's what it's all about. They can stand out and scream all they want. They can trespass, they'll be arrested. If they impede, they'll be arrested. If they knowingly harbor and conceal, they'll be arrested.
What's your reaction to that, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I think due process is politics. It's policy, and policy is a part of politics. Politics is what established the Constitution of the United States, is what established the Bill of Rights. That's exactly what it's about due process. Whether we can disagree on immigration policy until the cows come home, but at the end of the day, everybody has a right to due process. If you step foot on this soil, you have a right to the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. That's what separates this country from other countries around the world. Maybe he doesn't know that and is not ready to defend that, but we are.
Now, what's next legally in your case? And as importantly, or more importantly, for the detainees currently in Delaney Hall? I know ministers and others, groups, New Jersey National Action Network and others are calling meetings to see what will happen to them. Are there any in there that are being detained that shouldn't be entertained there? What's next with your case and the pursuit of finding out who's in that detention center and who should not be there?
Well, on May 15th, I have a pretrial hearing. They're treating this just like a regular case. I was arrested. I was put in a cell. I was given a mugshot, fingerprinted, charged with a federal crime of trespassing. I might add the police in there treated me pretty good, by the way. I mean, they gave me with respect and dignity. So I appreciate that. But I've been tried. I have to go to pretrial hearing. Ray Brown is representing me, and we're going to see this thing through. And I'm going to go back there and continue to try to gain entry with our fire inspector. And I know there's some protests that other people are planning coming forward. And if I feel obligated to be there, I will.
That's good. Thanks, Andy. I'm glad he at least got due process. I suppose that's where we're at. That's where we're at now.
Not be said for all the people being kidnapped by ICE.
Yeah, but good on him for standing up and speaking out. Again, this story just reeks to me. There's something fishy going on here. I don't understand how the mayor and several members of Congress toured the facility. Everything was uneventful. Everything was just fine. And then once they literally departed from the facility, if the mayor is correct there in his assertion, I have no reason to believe that he's not. Yes. Something's weird. Something is very odd. We do have some breaking news. As we've been on the air in just the last half an hour, the president held a press conference with HHS Secretary RFK Jr. Trump made a number of remarks. He spoke about pretty much everything we talked about this morning, from the new price controls on pharmaceuticals to our last topic, white South Africans getting expedited refugee status in the United States. I want to play just that one clip because it is really quite something. Really quite something.
And discrimination in their home country are heading to the United States,
right,
where your administration is going to welcome them as refugees. Now, this comes as you've halted virtually all refugee admissions for people fleeing famine and war from countries like Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why are you creating an expedited path into the country for Afrikaners but not others?
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have...
Nikki,
Okay.
Lots to unpack there.
I think we need to make it clear there is not a genocide of white farmers in South Africa. That is not true.
And someone in the chat pointed out that this is Elon Musk whispering in Donald Trump's ear. This is a fixation and obsession of his for forever, and now we're seeing it being carried out, or rather being addressed by the United States president. Very concerning. Sorry, but continue.
As this man clearly does not understand the asylum process and the point of it, considering the fact that many of these immigrants that he is inhumanely deporting to essentially gulags, they're here out of fear of being killed in their home country. I mean, he just said he doesn't want to see people get killed. I think he forgot a keyword there.
Yeah. It's stunning.
People get killed.
It's also very interesting that I do not believe, I could be mistaken, but I would be quite shocked if Trump has ever been on the record saying that what's happening in Gaza is either a genocide or if even Israeli war crimes are taking place. But he's very happy, very willing, as you all just saw, to use the G word with regard to South Africa. And I want to be very clear. So for the Lemonheads and the Lemon Nation, some of you may know this, some of you may not. I was a reporter for a newspaper called the Mail and Guardian, based in Johannesburg, for about 6 months while I was in college. It was one of the best experiences I had throughout college and honestly in my life. So I know South African politics quite intimately. There are as so often with everything Trump says, there are kernels of truthiness then cloaked and covered in giant lies, giant distortions, giant pieces of misinformation.
Kernels of truthiness buried in bullshit.
Yes, like it is true that the South African government, in trying to rectify the decades of harm that were carried out through apartheid, have pursued some land redistribution efforts. But one, they've been extremely limited. Two, they have not been very successful. And three, the idea is there's some state-sponsored attack on white South African farmers is just absolutely absurd. It's just Yeah, I echo everything you just said, Nikki. It is so crazy to me that at a time when we are hunting down, when ICE is hunting down in the streets, the poorest migrants from the poorest countries in the world and sending them back there, or sending them, as you said, to El Salvadoran forced labor camps, we're bringing in rich white South Africans. Galling, appalling, disgusting. No words.
Yet very on brand for this administration.
Yeah. So, folks, we're getting close to... Oh, no, it's actually already past 11 a.m. We've been going for a while, Nikki. Let us know in the comments what you want us to chat about at 5 p.m. Don may be back. We're not sure. I know that you guys can't wait to see him. We can't wait to see him hosting the show again. But let us know what you want us to talk about. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Consider becoming a member. Nikki, any closing thoughts for the Lemonheads?
Just that we're really grateful that you guys still show up to watch us. And we all wish Don the best. And I still see some people asking where Don is. If you haven't seen anything from last week, Don, unfortunately, his sister sadly passed away last week. So Don has been spending time with family. We are hoping that he will be back very soon. But until he is, he will be with us. So thank you so much for continuing to tune in. And yeah, like Peter said, subscribe, like, and become a member.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back with you at 5 p.m. And until then, turn the TV off.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your